Let's go ahead and get started. So I am recording it just so the admin who reports to me can take some good meeting notes. So good evening for everybody on the call. My name is Guido. I'm the Planning Services Manager for the City of Los Altos. A foundational principle of good urban planning is to do outreach to a community. At the end of the day, the community is the one that lives with these projects, not me. So I always try to do a lot of outreach for any major project that I work on. And on top of that, this is an SB 330 project. And when the formal submittal is given, we are limited to 5 meetings total for these type of projects. So on top of the normal, my desire to do outreach, we have some statutory limitations. So I requested and the applicant agreed to have this community meeting. There will be multiple bites at the apple. January 21st, we're having a study session with the city council. And then on January 27th, there will be a meeting with the Complete Streets Commission to talk about the project. So whoever's on the call, you have multiple bites at the apple. If you have written comments, please give them to me. SB 330 is written into the law. There's 2 phases, the pre-app phase and the formal. And my goal at the end of the pre-app is to give the applicant written comments that we get from the meeting minutes from Planning Commission, Complete Streets, and hopefully people can all just identify your name, your address, and then give your comments so that the admin person who's typing up the minutes can prepare the minutes, and I can package those all up and give them to the customer. My role really here is just advisory. I'm really here just to take notes and listen to the community, and we're going to just give it over to the applicant, and then we're just going to open it up for comments. And we don't have a lot of people on the call today, so it's going to be kind of informal. Yeah, just like state your name and address and give your comments so I can record. So I'm going to pass it off to Jeff and the applicant, and then I'm really here just to listen in.
Great, thank you, Guido. Everyone, let me know if I'm not coming through clearly here. Guido's mic was a little bit choppy. Hopefully mine is not. It looks like we really have limited members of the public here, so I will try to be brief and then be able to answer questions. The project that we're presenting tonight is a 50-unit condo building on First Street. It is proposed to be 4 stories tall at 46 feet, which is the base height plus the density bonus height of 11 feet. This is a 0.63 acre site in all. It's comprised of 4 sites. We have about a 2.86 FAR, and all of these items are similar to other developments that have been proposed and approved in town. So just to get you familiar with the location, the project is on the corner of Whitney and First Street in the greater sort of downtown context. It's along First Street about halfway up towards Main. There's several other projects that have been approved and are either under construction or getting there. At Lyell, at 389, down at the corner here, as well as I know a couple of other proposals in the area. So again, we're fronting on First. We're have a side elevation along Whitney, an alley along the rear, which will be getting widened by 2 feet. This site has a walk score of 90 and a bike score of 95, which means they're quote unquote walker's paradise, close to all amenities. So we foresee, you know, a lot of folks getting around town on foot rather than getting their cars out frequently. And all the parking is underground on this site and will be accessed from the rear. So again, these are the 4 parcels that compose the site. You can see that they're fairly small, much older commercial buildings, or in this case, a house that had been turned into a commercial building. On those parcels, they're highly underutilized, and the structures on those are outdated and, you know, in need of updating. You can see the adjacent uses across the street, and Drager's and the restaurant, which is being, I think, processed now. And then along Whitney, there's an office building at the back corner of the lot, and adjacent across Whitney is another office building. Again, the site is comprised of these 4 50-foot wide lots. It's 0.63 acres. We've designed the project to have the main entry sort of splitting the building into a couple of components and facing along First Street. The parking will be accessed to a ramp for parking underneath the building off of the alley. And we have some enhanced setback areas along the corners where we're going to design an enhanced landscape feature along that area. And again, just 2 floors of underground parking. The parking in all is 111 stalls currently designed, which is 15 more than are required by the state law and 2 less than required by the city's base parking. It is important to note as we move through the project with workshops and complete streets that with a fairly limited waiver in parking stall width, we could easily add at least 4 more parking stalls to this garage. So that may be something that we, work with the city on as we move through the project. The building context itself, again, entry is in about 1/3 of the way down the building from the corner and is breaking up that building feature, which we'll look at in the elevations. We've got an exterior court in the center of the building to bring some additional light down into the building here and provide a little bit of extra open space along there. As you can see on all sides of the building form is highly articulated in its plan view. As we work our way around the building, slightly less so where it's directly adjacent to a nearby structure here. And we've got a mix of unit types in the project, from studios, you see here, to 1-bedrooms, numerous 2-bedrooms, and then a few larger 3-bedroom stacks around the edge of the building. So we've got a nice range of unit square footages from about 620 square feet to about 2,200 square feet, and a nice range of units in there, and a wide variety of units as well. The building elevation composition was really designed to sort of break down the scale of the building, kind of using this layered mass of different massing elements and materials to sort of create a layering effect, and also to provide some step back from the 1st and 2nd floors to the 3rd floor up to the 4th floor. So allowing those materials to create that step back along there. We've also broken up the building vertically to create several smaller massing elements with these deeper slots in the building at various locations, which helps to break down that mass. We've got a nicely defined base of the building, sort of a middle area of the building, and then the top of the building with this enhanced parapet element along there to provide a nice line along the building, and then and sort of accentuate those broken up areas. That'll be treated with a wood type soffit on the underside to create a little bit of warmth to that palette. The proportions of the windows, especially some of these horizontal windows, were designed to kind of reflect the character of some of the other older buildings along this district. And again, the entry is set into one of these slots to create a nice focal point along there. We'll be using a variety of materials, from board formed concrete patio walls at the base to a wood toned Trespa material along here, material like this in a more warm color palette, to a large format stone type of product along the other base elements, and then stucco as the background element on the building. And again, that articulation, especially at the corner, we've wrapped that detail around the corner with the window element and the wood palette. And then that articulation carries all the way around the building, again, breaking it up with the slot elements as we go down Whitney, and then wrapping down into the alley, still very highly articulated along the alley with several of these sort of bands to break up the massing and bulk of the building through there. And just a quick sort of view with some of the other, as you can see, sort of in the background, approved and existing structures along First Street here, tying in with the sort of scale and mass of those buildings, creating this wrapped around element where we'll have an enhanced landscape element here at the corner of the building, and creating these slots along here to break up that massing and create a nice rhythm as you go down the street, and then wrapping that around down Whitney in a similar format. And with that, that's a very quick overview. Here to answer questions. It looks like we only have one member of the public, and if Guido, if you have any questions as well.
No, it's fine. Is Emily from your team, Jeff?
Yes, Emily and Scott are both from my team.
Okay, so I'll unmute Mr. John Bear. Okay, he's unmuted himself, so.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Okay, so the fact that I'm the only member of the public says that this outreach was a failure. It was a failure because postcards were sent out without any time on it. I can tell you that trying to copy a 60-character web address where you cannot tell the difference between a capital I and a lowercase l made it impossible for me to log on, and it was only because, Guido, you were kind enough to email me the address, I was able to do so. That, you know, if this, I'm hoping this doesn't count as one of the 5 noticed meetings, because if it does, it's not been properly noticed. And, you know, the community actually does care what gets developed in this town. So this is terribly unfortunate. So let me offer some comments with regard to specifics of the building. First of all, let me commend you for providing adequate parking. I think that's a real plus here. This is a street that has limited to no parking for people to park on a regular basis. Whitney gets filled with cars during the day, and so having a fully parked structure is critical. I would ask the question, which you can answer now or not. You're widening the alley. I'm hoping that alley gets widened all the way through to between Lyell and Whitney, and not just the portion that is to your building off of Whitney.
Yeah, I can tell you that just from my interaction and participation in some of the other projects, that each project that is backing onto that alley, 425 at the corner, 389, and this one, all have that similar alley dedication. And so I believe the goal, as you know, unfortunately, there are a couple of other buildings that may choose not to allow that to happen until they do, you know, any sort of development. But the plan with the city is to widen that alley all the way down.
Well, I would tell you that I think getting that alley fully widened is absolutely critical, because otherwise you're going to start creating traffic issues and other problems with cars. So, you know, I realize we are in pandemic mode, and, you know, there's no issues today, but there will be in the future. So let me make a couple of additional other comments. Jeff, you mentioned that this is similar to other projects in town, and actually this isn't. This project is significantly larger and more dense than any other project, residential project in downtown. And that is an issue. Doesn't mean you can't build it, but it means you have to be sensitive to your mass and bulk and how it's going to appear to the people at the street level. And I think that's where this project needs significantly more work. I will tell you that just from the appearance, it looks like a condominium in Miami. That's not Los Altos. You know, and it doesn't have the warmth, it doesn't have robust landscape. It lacks so many of the elements that we try and put in place in our town. And, you know, I think a good example of a failed project in this town is 396 First Street. It's poorly done, it's bad materials, there's a lack of robust landscape, and it's basically a cube. And this project risks being the same. And so my comments are not to derail a project, but to encourage you to come up with a project that's going to be more consistent with what we expect in Los Altos. The volume of this 4-story cube is insufficiently architecturally relieved. There is some attempt on the front facade with the element above the entranceway, but certainly there could be more on the front, and there isn't enough on any of the other two sides. I'm going to ignore for now the last side, because presumably at some point, I'm assuming that's to the lot line and will be developed. You know, I think using the front elevation as a model is not a bad idea, but there needs to be more articulation in the front and certainly more on the sides and the rear to break up the cubing and mass. And that cubing and mass gets exacerbated by your decision to put an overhang on that roof. You know, in so many instances where we see that buildings are allowed an additional story, the 4th floor is recessed. You've chosen not to recess the 4th floor. I think that's a mistake. And in fact, by putting the overhang, you exacerbate the appearance of mass and bulk on the 4th floor. And I realize there are developer incentives for the number of BMR units you're using, but I would encourage you as a accommodation to the city, to the community, for neighborhood compatibility, that you seriously consider recessing the 4th story and doing something about your overhang element on the roof. There are many multi-story sheer vertical planes on the other 3 stories with windows that, again, you know, not sufficiently recessed. There's no communal open space for the use of occupants. What you have, it says common area. It's a light well. It is a light well. There's only access from one unit. Again, this is not keeping with what people look for and expect in Los Altos. I would encourage you to look at the development. I think it's at the end of either 2nd or 3rd Street near Edith. There's a wonderful high-end condo development with a very lush and open to the lobby greenery and common area. So I'd encourage you to enlarge the court significantly, perhaps open it up for general view, but certainly open it up so it's more accessible to illuminate the corridors and provide a much richer environment. There's additionally minimal public landscaping. This is a very urban expression, and it absolutely needs more generous landscaping, a town value to fit our village. Encouraging you to pull back the footprint from First Street to provide landscape buffer area. You know, even 396, which was badly done, has trees and planters. The Whitney First Street corner is a full cube. Yes, there have been minimal attempts to soften it a little bit, but it needs, there's no recognition that there's buildings across the street at 349 Whitney. And the suggestion is to carve away cubic volume to reduce the big shoulder impact. You know, these are ways, you know, using objective standards to reduce the mass and bulk, to reduce the abrupt change that is occurring with this structure. Lastly, you should be aware that 371 First Street, I believe, may be a historic building that will require a CEQA evaluation, since any building with historic significance, potential historic significance over 50 years requires a historic evaluation. I'm saying that without having access to the historic records, but just looking at the building, looking at its setback, I believe 371. You're not developing 373, are you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you probably need to check on 373 as well. All right. So I've said a lot. I'm happy to provide clarification on any of the points I've made. I will be following up with Guido with written comments as well.
Great. That's what we're here for, to get comments. Thank you.
But I would encourage you all to think about better ways to notice these meetings. Guido, the meeting that, you know, if I go to the city's website and look at, you know, private development under the community tab, you know, it notices, it doesn't notice this meeting. It doesn't say anything about what time the meeting is on the 21st. You know, I spent 9 years on the Planning Commission. I know meetings start at 7 p.m. Not all the members of the public know that. Not all the members of the public have your email address when they try and log on from a postcard email address and can't. So I realize the pandemic creates some issues, but as a community, we need to do a better job in noticing the public and making the public able to present comments.
Duly noted, duly noted. Well, I'm glad you were able to participate, John. Thank you.
And John, this just for your clarification, this is not one of the 5 noticed meetings under the SB 330 statute.
Okay, well, that's good. I mean, because, you know, look, the goal here is for you to have a successful project, right? I mean, and, you know, I think the the closer you get initially, the less iterations you're going to have to go through that you come up with something that's going to work. And I would say that, I've seen projects from my tenure on the Planning Commission that are somewhere between 0 and 95% there in terms of things that will pass muster in this town. And you're less than 50% at this point. Which in my opinion means you probably have to do some serious rethinking about some elements of this project so that it's going to work in this community. Jeff, I don't know how much time you spent and looked around at other buildings, how much time you looked at condos and other buildings along First Street, Second or Third Street. This building along El Camino would probably be just fine, but First Street is not El Camino, right? And so I think that you need to reset expectations in terms of, massing, perhaps including density, because you're in a very different environment. I don't think this project works right now as presented. And I'm sure you didn't want to hear that, but the good news is I'm not on the Planning Commission, so I don't get a vote, right? But I am trying to give you enough specifics that hopefully, if you think these are thoughtful comments and will resonate with, the others on, throughout the city, that you'll make the appropriate changes.
We will certainly make an effort, and I appreciate you taking the time to provide us with your comments.
Okay. Guido, and I will follow up with you with a longer email than you'd like, but hopefully that at least puts into writing some of these comments.
Yeah. And my staff report has to go out the door for the Planning Commission Wednesday, late Wednesday, Thursday. So if you send me your email, I can make sure it gets included in the Planning Commission packet, John.
Terrific.
So, and yeah, definitely duly noted about doing better outreach and all that. Yeah, definitely. This is the first time we've done this, so
No.
I'm working out some kinks here. So.
Yeah, no. But I mean, literally, when you have a web address that's as long as this, I mean, I tried 4 times to put it in, and I got it wrong.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it just because L's look like, capital I's look like, lowercase L's, and zeros look like capital O's, and I can't tell from what's written here what's correct.
I get it. Next time we will put it on the planning webpage so people can just maybe click on the link. So.
Well, you also might try a bit.ly shortened web address.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that really helps people a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Because these things, they're not meant for normal people.
Yeah, no. Duly noted.
Okay, I don't want to belabor any of this unless there are any other questions for me. I'm going to let you guys carry on with your evening.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good, thanks.
So if that's basically the gist of the comments, then yeah, I will take John's email and I'll stick it in my staff report. And yeah, we're having the Planning Commission meeting on the 21st.
Is that Planning Commission, or is that a joint meeting, or just the Planning Commission?
Just the Planning Commission.
Okay, you had said City Council earlier. I thought that was probably not what you meant.
Yeah, about, I don't know, a couple months before I started, they changed the ordinance. So this project's eligible for a study session. So just thought it'd be a good project to take. So yeah. All right,
Okay, and it's,
everybody.
yeah, sounds good. I think, obviously before that study session, we want to address any of the comments we heard tonight, and we'll kind of group them all together after that meeting.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're gonna change any of the plans, I would need that stuff by Wednesday-ish. Packet goes out Thursday, so.
I think, I think the only thing we were planning on doing is providing a few enhanced images and details and things like that before that meeting, but no revisions. We'll wait until we get comments from the commission as well as John's comments and address them all at one time.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. All right. Thank you, guys. Go back to enjoying the football game. So,
All right.
all right. Talk to you guys soon. Okay. Goodbye.